Welcome to Redlily Cafe, our interview show here on Redlily Radio. I'm here with Xueqian Zhang, who is the Student Experience Officer at the Kaplan Business School. Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Qian for short, that's fine?
Yeah.
Cool, thank you, Qian.
And that would make it easier for you.
It will make it a lot easier for me, yeah, thank you. So the reason I thought it would be good to interview you today is because you wrote an article recently on your blog website.
Mm-hmm.
Now this article was about the cultural differences between Chinese culture and Australian culture. And this article was kind of to help people coming from China to understand Australian mannerisms, customs, or that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think, so that article is more about what I like about Australian or Adelaide people. And through that, it's kind of explore the cultural differences. But the purpose is not only about helping people who could be any student from overseas or newcomer to Australia who are interested in studying or living in Australia.
Yeah, fantastic.
And then also more about like culture bridge, so then local people, they can know about Chinese culture as well.
Oh, so you're bridging the two cultures there.
Cross-cultural communication, which I'm really passionate about.
Yeah, which is awesome. And that's one thing I found when I was reading it is it's an article that myself as an Australian can read, and I can learn a lot about Chinese culture. And there were a few things I learned about Chinese culture in there. One of them being the emphasis on having your personal space, and how here in Australia we're probably a lot more casual with our personal space. And in that article you talk about how one of your first encounters here, someone kissed you on the cheek, was it?
Yeah, that was the first restaurant I've been to in Adelaide. And the lady, because we had a very good chat, so then the lady hugged me and kissed my cheek in the end, which really shocked me.
Right.
Because I never had that in China before.
Was this someone you knew? Or was
it's a totally stranger. And so yeah, because in China we never done that. Like even, at least my family, we never hug or kiss each other. So that's why it's really a brand new experience to me.
Yeah, wow. So is things like hugging and kissing on the cheek, is that strictly for like your romantic partner or very close family?
Yeah, I can say that.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny because I remember we were talking about this earlier, and when I first heard about that story from you, I was thinking, if someone here hugged me and kissed me on the cheek and I didn't know them, that would be weird for me too. So
really?
Yeah, so it's not necessarily everyone here does that, but yeah. Though there does seem to be that big difference. Now, recently that article got hosted on the City of Adelaide website, didn't it?
Yes, it's like beyond my expectation. I never thought this would happen.
How did that happen? That's awesome.
I published in LinkedIn because I thought since I got very good feedback from my Facebook, especially for people, they say because of this they know a lot of Chinese culture. So I thought, I think this could benefit people in my LinkedIn, like my LinkedIn audiences as well, because I think for my LinkedIn, a lot of them, they are international students or professional who work in international education industry. So I thought this might benefit them too. Also, this is kind of my purpose for my blog. So I published it, and then it was found by someone from City of Adelaide, and then they asked me, would you mind we share it in our website? So
this was someone, were you friends with them on LinkedIn?
No.
This was just someone that found it. So it was already being shared around by that point.
I think a lot of people, they like my article or make very good comments for my article, and then I get someone from City of Adelaide, they saw it, and then they just thought this is a great article, so they shared it.
That is fantastic.
And I was like, wow, very excited.
It's interesting, and look, I can't speak for City of Adelaide, but I suspect the Chinese population here is growing significantly, and even now when we just go out onto the street here in Rundle Mall, which is our main street here in Adelaide, we hear, I think it's the Erhu One of the
erhu,
it's like one of the traditional instruments from China.
Yes, that's right.
Which is amazing. So we've got that real cultural mix, and so I suspect that's why City of Adelaide feels it is so important to be putting this information out there. So we really can, I guess, integrate these two cultures. So you're talking about the purpose behind your blog. When did you start the blog?
Good question. I started this year, March. So actually I'm still,
so it's still new.
Yes, I am still very new in this space. Also, I think it's very interesting, like when I look back my journey, my motivation, because grow up and I didn't like writing at all. I always feel like I didn't have things to write, and my writing is not good, wasn't good.
Yeah.
But since last year, since I have been here for 5 years, and then I just feel like I have so much I want to share, my personal stories, so then I can build like a culture bridge, but also can help some international students like through sharing my experience. I think that would be really interesting, but also very meaningful thing to do. That's why I thought I need to have my own blog. So finally started.
And so you're finding in having this experience, it's giving you stuff to write about.
Definitely.
And now you're enjoying the writing more because of that.
Yeah, it's that's why I feel like it's kind of magical to me. I never enjoy writing that much, and now I kind of write almost every day because I feel like I have so much I want to write. I guess this comes from my curiosity. I always like to explore things and to interact with people from different cultural backgrounds. That's something I really, really love about the city.
Yeah.
Because the people, and they are so nice, and they're all from different cultural backgrounds.
It is very multicultural here,
Definitely.
Isn't it? And especially in your job at Catplan, that is kind of the purpose of your job, isn't it? Is to help people from different countries, isn't it?
And to inspire our students, to empower them, and through my personal experience.
Yeah.
And
so they let you bring in your personal experience
because I can talk to them if they have any questions. Share with them also I got a chance to organize events for our students.
Oh yeah, what kind of events do you do?
So actually last year, I think one of the not last year, last trimester, because I just joined a few months ago. So we just finished one trimester, and for that trimester, one event we organized is I invited one of our lecturers, and she is a doctor, but also in like communication area. So then so it's more about Australian etiquette, that what kind, because this is facing like to all our students, but mainly for our new international students.
Right.
So then we talk about we have demonstration about what we should do, and for me I can bring out about the Asian expectation, so then to explore why Australians you are doing this. So it's very interesting, and so then afterwards students, they really appreciate that, and they feel like they learn a lot
to actually learn why we do some of the things we do, some of the etiquette.
Definitely.
That's really interesting actually, because and I mean I find that as well, even looking out to other cultures, I've found personally, once I learn why they do certain things, it makes a lot more sense.
Definitely. Also, I feel like that really will stop a lot of misunderstanding as well, because a lot of things people assume that this is rude, so but they didn't know why people doing that. Yeah. And then if you know why, then you will understand, oh, actually this is normal for them. So it's not in their behavior, in their thinking, it's not a rude action behavior.
Can you give us an example? Can you give us an example of something that might seem rude, but actually isn't? It's just a cultural difference.
No problem. So I think I have like 2 examples I can give. So then, one is in China we don't really say thank you a lot, because for us it's more about we say that during among strangers, not really among friends. Right. Because we feel like if we say thank you to friends, our friends will think it's a bit too much, and you will treat them not as a close friends.
It's a very formal thing, so is it?
Yeah, it's like, because we like to put our love and appreciation in the bottom of our heart, not show it through action or through physical words. More through action rather than the words. That's why you don't hear that people say thank you much.
Yep.
But here people will think, oh, this person is not polite.
Right, because here in Australia, we say thank you all the time. We say please all the time. I mean, it's the same here, I guess, where once we're really comfortable with people, we probably still say thank you, but we just say thanks or cheers or we have shortened versions of everything.
Yeah. But that's why because I used to live in a local couple's house. So when they invited their children to come for dinner, and then their children will say, oh, thank you for having us.
Yep.
And then they will say, thank you for coming. And I was like, wow, we never say that in China. So it's just totally a different experience to me. Yeah, but I also feel like it's very interesting. Another thing, another example is, I don't know whether you noticed, for a lot of Chinese people, when they came to Australia, they talk quite loud, like in public. Have you noticed that?
I didn't notice it specifically at first, but then I noticed it amongst some Chinese friends at school. And then recently I read something about how that is a cultural thing, but remind me, because I don't know what exactly it is.
Yeah. So I still remember when I saw a lady who was in the airport, and then she talked on the phone and very loudly. Yeah. And then the person who, I think the staff at airport, and I can see he was really angry about this lady's behavior. Right. And then I just feel like it's really about the culture difference, because in China it's very common, I guess, because of our population, because a lot of people, and then you have to be loud and then people can hear you. And also, right. Yeah, that's definitely one of the reasons. Also, I think we like when you go to a Chinese restaurant, people talk like very loudly as well. So,
and you like that energy.
I don't know. I guess maybe that's kind of energy, then so people just get used to it.
Right, because it's almost the exact opposite here, where, and I mean, especially at things like bus stops, I noticed that people they give a lot of personal space, but they also talk quietly or whatever. And whenever someone is talking loudly at a bus stop here, everyone seems to get a little bit uncomfortable. I think to us, it almost feels like that person is not respecting the social space. And then I think to us, we go, all right, someone who's not respecting that social space, are they the kind of person who's about to start a fight or something like that? Yeah. So everyone gets a little bit uncomfortable. But this is all kind of like subconscious. We just kind of don't think about it actively, but it is interesting, I guess, because we have a very small population here compared to China.
It's right.
Yeah. So I guess then we talk a lot about journeys on Redlily Radio, which is our podcast here. So I guess I kind of want to ask you a bit more about your journey. You say you came to Australia 6 years ago.
Yeah.
What brought you over here?
Good question. I think it's about a few reasons, 3 reasons. Sure. First, because actually my cousin, she is in Sydney. Okay. And back then I feel like I want to prove myself. So I didn't want to.
A little bit of competition.
I didn't want to go to Sydney and then people will say, oh, you just rely on your cousins. I want to, show people that I am independent. I can. Yep. Yeah, I can do it well, like only just by myself. And then the second reason, because I really like, as I mentioned before, I really like different culture, and I want to improve my English as well. I know in Sydney and Melbourne, they have so many Asian people, like a lot of Chinese. So then I know Adelaide has much less Asian population.
So it forces you to practice English.
Yes, definitely, and then to meet people from other cultures.
Right.
And the third reason is South Australia is a festival state, and I am a big fan of arts and culture. So I feel like, I think it would be very fun to live in its city. And then the last one is because the living cost is much lower compared to other big cities in Australia. So yeah, looking back, I think I really made the right decision.
That's
and
cool.
I really enjoy every minute
That's
of
cool.
Adelaide.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We might get picked up by the tourism board if we keep talking about Adelaide like this. But it's interesting you mentioned the festivals that we have here. And I think just this past week we've had the Oz Asia Festival here.
Yeah, it's still going on.
Oh, it's still going on. Oh, fantastic.
This weekend.
Oh, there you go. So do you have much to do with the Oz Asia Festival?
Yes, actually I just posted published an article related to Oz Asia Festival as well, because this festival definitely is one of my favorite festivals in Adelaide, like annually. Because one of the highlights of this festival is Moon Lantern Parade.
The Moon Lantern Parade.
Yes. So I've been there 4 times now.
Oh wow.
First time just a pure audience, and then the second time is I was the volunteer at the Confucius Institute booth. So demonstrating like attendees about Chinese traditional, more like a pastime. So it's called jianzi. So it's more like a sport as well. Jianzi.
Jianzi.
Okay. You can find out later. Like maybe you can put a link and then people can see it.
We can definitely put a link in.
And then the third one is I was holding the lantern as Study Adelaide lantern on the parade. So that's really fun because I could high five with the children. So which is very, very interesting. And then the fourth time is last interaction, because I am the Oz Asia ambassador now.
You're the Oz Asia ambassador?
Yes.
What?
And I was invited as a VIP to their opening ceremony. So then I got the chance to interview the CEO and artistic director of Festival Center.
Wow.
But he's also the founder of this festival, Oz Asia Festival.
Oh, that's fantastic.
So, and to know more about, this festival, how it began and the vision and the future, which is really, really interesting to know.
Yeah, wow. Oh, it's all happening for you.
Yeah, I know. I'm so, so grateful and exciting.
Hey, this is actually all fascinating because going back to your journey, and I want to ask you about the radio show that you're on, except we'll get back to that in a moment. If we just pull back to your journey, and so you decided to come over here to Australia and you moved to Adelaide.
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you could describe for us what it was like for the first, 6 months or a year.
Sure.
I'd imagine it would be very challenging.
Definitely.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Yes. So I still remember when I first came to here, I think English is one of the most challenging things I've ever met in my life. That's why I'm going to publish one more of my blog post is about Australian English, because we are not really familiar with the Australian accent, because I noticed that you like to raise your tones in the end of the sentences. A lot of people they like to do that.
And it always sounds like we're asking a question.
Yes, that's right. So it's a bit different, like very different. I never had that experience before. And the second thing I think is about the slang.
Yeah.
You just use so many different slang, and I was like, I really don't know what they're talking about. And then I realized, actually slang is kind of reflecting about Australian culture and people's characters as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really enjoyed this learning process, but at the beginning it's really challenging. And then I got quite upset. So I just feel like, people can't understand me, I can't understand them, so maybe I just don't talk. But then I realized one of the reasons why I came to study overseas is more about I want to make the most of my experience and I want to see the world. So if I didn't talk, and then that's kind of like waste my money.
Yeah.
So then I just started to make like a move, which when looking back, I still feel like I was very brave to do that.
I think you were very brave to do that.
That is when I was waiting for the bus, and I will, if I find anyone who looks very friendly, and I will started to talk to them, initiate the conversation, and that really helped me to improve my English fluency a lot.
Actually, that raises a good point, because I know from my own experience when I lived in another country for a while, and I tried to speak the language. I would do it, not great, but I would get better over time. But I found it very, very frustrating. And I could tell that a lot of other people felt very frustrated as well when we couldn't quite communicate what we were trying to say and have a good conversation. I want to ask, how did you deal with the frustration that comes with that? And how did you keep yourself motivated when I guess you would have felt quite frustrated at times?
Good question. I think for me, I always like languages since I was very young. So I enjoy to listening people's talking and their accents. So also I like talking to people. That's why I kind of feel, okay, if this is what I like to do, so I just need to think of the solution. The one, as I said before, I started to talk to people at the bus stop or on the bus. Another thing I was doing is I started to go to different social events organized by our uni, and different organizations like Your Culture, My Culture is called that the name, and then we were arranged by different groups from different nationalities, and we were having dinner together, or we went to hiking, and also I live in a student accommodation in a shared house, and most of them, they are all from different countries.
Right.
I think that really, really helped a lot.
It kind of forced you to keep speaking English.
I think it would be very weird, like if two Chinese students, we said, oh, we can't speak Chinese, let's speak in English. You still feel like, you just feel it's hard to do that. But once you were surrounded by people who are not Chinese, and you just feel like, okay, you have to speak, but that makes natural, like much more natural to speak in English, because you want to communicate, you want to convey your messages to other people. Yeah.
And so, all right, if you had to give advice to someone who was in your position, someone from China who was about to move to Australia, is there one thing that you would tell them that would be the most helpful?
I think definitely English. Just try to improve your English as much as you can by maybe checking website, what kind of slang people like to use in Australia, and to get familiar with Australian accent. But also try to practice your spoken English, maybe to other, like your foreign teachers at your uni, or through internet, because now we have so many different apps you can use. That's really good to improve, to get ready. But also just be relaxed, because language is really a long journey, and you have to be patient and just use it every single day. So and enjoy the journey. I think that's really important.
Enjoy the journey.
Definitely.
That is good advice.
I think a lot of times we are so in a rush. We feel like we want to improve English in a month, and then you will get frustrated, because it's really, I can't say like it's impossible, but I feel like it's quite hard to achieve to the goal you wanted to achieve. But if you do it every single day, like every day, to give yourself maybe half an hour to practice English, that you will get much better result in the end. Right.
So it's almost about setting smaller goals, but over a longer period of time.
Yeah, that's what I did actually. That's what I've been doing every single day. There are 3 things I have been doing. So one is, because I always like music, I want to learn piano. So I started to practice keyboard like 5 minutes a day, even though it's very short, but I have been doing that. And then the second thing is to read 2 pages at least. And then the third thing is to write a gratitude journal. Just write 3 things you feel grateful about today.
Oh, fantastic.
So that makes you much happier.
That's good actually. And I like that you brought that up, because that actually relates to a coaching technique that we'll teach, that I've heard called a number of things, but sometimes it's called 3 wins. And so you can either use it for gratitude as a gratitude journal, or if you use it as the 3 wins thing, it's about helping you build up your self-confidence and feelings of progress with what you're doing. That's one thing that I've found is helpful for me, and I've heard of other clients that enjoyed it, is reflecting on your day, especially when you feel like you haven't done anything good that day. If you really kind of take the time to rack your brain and find 3 things that either you're grateful for in gratitude or you feel like you've accomplished, it can help shift your mindset to then make you feel like you're making more progress or your life is actually better.
Definitely.
And it's amazing that if you repeatedly do this, like you said, do these small things over time, it can actually gradually rewire your brain. If we're talking about neuroscience now, and we can go into, there's topics like neuroplasticity, which is basically about how with repeated practice of things, our brains can be rewired and establish new thinking patterns. And if you see yourself as a ungrateful or a low self-esteem or a generally sad person, these are little tools that can be used to help you reshape your brain to feel more grateful and to feel more accomplished.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
Yeah, so I'm glad that you've been finding that in your own life as well. That's awesome.
Thank you.
And we're talking about your hobbies here, which, is great. So you found your footing here in Australia and you've come and started doing some of these hobbies. And I know you joined Toastmasters because that's where I first met you. But I think that was 2 years ago or
it's about
a year and a half ago about. But another thing you do is you're on a radio show on Radio Adelaide.
Yes.
What do you do there?
So the program's name is called Songcatcher.
Songcatcher.
And we interview different local songwriters every week about their music journey and the inspirations behind their songs. So which I just feel is really interesting, and I'm just so happy that I'm able to do that, and also in a very friendly team. And to learn, because I feel like everyone has something you can learn from, and everyone's story is so fascinating, and their music is different too. So that's why I've been doing that like over a year now, and I just I really enjoy doing this show. And a lot of times they will bring their musical instruments and play it live.
Yeah, fantastic.
So how good is that?
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, and then we will ask some questions along, like in between the songs.
And I've seen that you do put up some videos of that as well.
Definitely, that's what I have been doing. Like I will film maybe some of their talk, which I think it would be good for other songwriters to know, or their live musical like performance.
Yeah.
So then I will add it and share it in Facebook and Instagram.
Yeah, that's awesome. So if we just go in a completely different direction again, I think I said at the start, or we discussed earlier, that one of the things I wanted to talk about was this difference between individualist culture that we have here in Australia and other Western countries, and a more collectivistic culture that you have in China and some other Eastern countries. Was that a big thing that you've noticed in the day-to-day when you came here, or is it a more subtle thing?
Yeah, more gradually, I realized people here, I think they are really encouraging about everyone who explore themselves and to follow what they want to do. So I feel I get a lot of encouragement to find myself and to develop myself. I think that's really good thing here. Yeah. Because people is more about just do what you want to do.
Yeah.
But while in China, we were more, I think you always need to think of others, and then we're very close to our family, but also extended family.
Yep.
And it's like you live in a big family.
Yeah.
I think the good thing is like you keep very good relationship, like close relationship, but also you get distracted by other people's opinions on you and say, oh, maybe it's not a good thing. And this one thing I think is very interesting to notice as well. People here, such as for auntie, it's that you don't really differentiate whether this auntie is your dad's side or your mom's side.
Oh, they're all our aunties.
Yes.
Yeah.
But in China, we have specifically different names for those people.
Is that because you really feel the need to differentiate between the different families?
Yes.
It's almost like different entities.
That's right. Also, it's like a bureaucracy as well. Like you have to know like who to who, and then about the relationship. That's why in Asian countries, we really want to focus on how to build a harmonious relationship in the society.
Right.
So that's a very interesting thing.
It is, and that's one thing, I mean, we've talked about in a number of the most recent episodes, even episode 5, where we actually quote your article.
Thank you for that.
That's okay. Well, your article was perfect for what we were talking about. And then just our most recent 2 episodes, which we talk about individualism and collectivism, and about how we're not necessarily saying one is better than the other, but they both have things to offer.
Definitely.
Talk about individualism is good for people's individual freedom, and as you said, you're very encouraged to follow your dreams and things like that. Whereas collectivism is focused on the family or the group. And with that comes the power of having a group of people that are working for the same cause or helping each other out.
Yeah, that's why I think when you call someone, right, here you can just say this first name. But in China, you always need to have some title in the first, like in the front, and then you say that person's name. And
could you give us an example?
So, for example, like if you go to a school, you will say Professor Lee. So that's more the family name. But here you can just say the first name of that person.
Okay.
So they both of them are professor, but you will really address them differently.
But it's so important. Is that because it helps establish that hierarchy in the group and everyone kind of knows where they sit?
Yeah. That's part of, I think it's very, very different experience. Also, when you go to a restaurant, certain people, they will sit in different location of a table, and that's also I don't think you have here. Like you should sit here, someone should sit there. If it's a group of people like from a company, and that the boss will sit a certain location, and then also if it's a family go to dinner like a festival, so maybe during Chinese New Year, and then the eldest will sit a certain place that is facing to the door, and that's the best location to sit. So we all have different. I think it's really like different rules or traditions we have to follow.
And everyone kind of just knows these traditions.
Yeah, because
without
we were
talking about them.
brought up for that. So we have to, like when you go to and then when you sit down and you need to wait to like for the eldest one to eat first, and then everyone will eat. So we'll wait everyone together, and then we will eat.
Yep.
And when you go like send a postcode, you will see the different order as well. Here you will write from the smallest to the biggest, right? But in China it's the other way around. So that's why it's like individualism and then the collective.
Oh wow.
So I just feel like when you compare these,
it's in every little part of the culture.
Everything, every detail.
Far out.
Yeah.
Wow. So I know this is a hard question to answer, but do you feel like there are things that collectivistic cultures do better than individualistic?
Yeah, definitely. I think one thing would be when we want to do things, like for the government, they want to make some big project, it's very easy to make because they can make the decision and do it straight away, to use all the resources around the country and to do a certain project. While here, I think it's a bit harder to make the decisions. That's why it takes longer to accomplish a project, rather than why in China it's very fast. So you can make the decision. Like I think that's the reason why I was trained.
Because everyone is kind of already on board. People just, if the government says we should do this, then everyone just feels like that's the best thing for the country. Right. Whereas, and I mean, this is probably Australia especially. I feel like there's a lot of distrust of our government, depending on who you are. And so a lot of people have to be convinced to do certain things. Yeah.
And also when we talk about like individualism, and you will find like here people are very direct in terms of communication. But why in China we are more subtle. And you don't want to upset people. You don't want to let that person like lose face if the person didn't know anything. So you are more indirect in terms of.
Again, it's about maintaining that harmony of the group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. It's amazing just how many different places in life this affects, and how many things it slightly changes.
Definitely.
Where we put this focus, how we act, how we respond to people.
Even for arts and culture, I think it's the same. When you listen to the Chinese songs, you look at the lyrics, and their lyrics is much subtle. You have to guess and to try and figure out, what this song is talking about. But while here, I noticed your lyrics much more direct.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I feel for me, I like when like in daily life, I more prefer to be direct because of like we have to be indirect, and then sometimes we will interpret things differently, and that is I think is not good for a relationship in the long term. But for appreciating this arts thing like music, and I just feel it's or reading the book, it's better to be indirect, so then it kind of gives the literature or the arts more flavor, so you can think, ponder, and then digest. I think that adds different color.
Oh, and so it's almost nice to have that in the arts because it is more of that slower digestion process. Yeah. Whereas in your everyday matters, it's nice just to have it direct because you can just get things done quickly.
Yeah, because I feel everyone is different, but for me personally, I prefer directness because I'm not good at guessing people's. Some people are just very easy to pick up that subtleness. Yep. But for me, I'm not that type of person.
No, that's fair enough. Like you said, everyone's different.
Yeah.
So that stuff is fascinating. And so then if we come back to your journey again, we've looked at where you started and we've looked at your first experiences coming here. Now I just want to ask you about kind of where you're headed and what your passion is. Because you've touched on it a little bit about how you want to be helping people, want to be helping bridge these cultures. But can you tell us a bit more about that?
Thank you for your question, definitely. I think for me, I always have a lot of dreams and passions. Yeah. So at the moment, I don't really know which way is, which one direction. Maybe there are a few directions. But one thing is definitely about cross-cultural communication. Because when I was in a high school, I always wanted to be a culture bridge, or culture ambassador to see the world and to talk to people, interview them, and to then people can know like what China or Chinese people really is or are, what they are look like or act like, what they think like. Because I feel a lot of media, they kind of have misunderstanding about Chinese people or China in general. So I really want to show them what we really are, but also I really want to show like what other countries people they are, because in China we may hear differently. So then that's why I think my blog for people, my friends, or even the agent who I work with for my previous job, they shared my article to their international students, like their students who are going to study overseas, because they feel like it's quite useful for them to see what Australia or Australians are. Yep.
Was Australia very different to what you had heard about it?
I feel like at the beginning I didn't really think too much when I first came here. I just feel like I just got so excited because I just want to see experience different culture, and I feel like that's just so interesting and amazing to do that, to be able to do that. I think that's my personal value too. I think it's mainly two. One is how I can maximize my potential, and the second one is how I can make a positive impact in the community. I think that would be a very cool life to live.
That sounds like it. It sounds like, and I can definitely appreciate what you're saying about spreading the message and interviewing international students and stuff like that.
People.
As do I, obviously.
Yeah, that's why we met.
No, that's fascinating. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for today. But just talking about helping other international students learn from your journey and your insights, is there any websites or any sources in particular you think they should check out, whether your blog or anything like that?
Definitely, yeah. I think you will link my blog.
Yes, we will link your blog in the references in the description.
But I'm really looking forward to hearing people's feedback so I can improve as well, and to see what they want to know and what I can improve to. And then the second thing will be Study Adelaide website, because Study Adelaide. Yes, so it's a government organization who promote Adelaide is a great city for international students, and they have a lot of very good stuff, and they organize different events for international students to help them to connect with other international students. And also like in terms of career ready, they have different events as well, which I think is really what our students need. Because looking back, when I first arrived here, we really feel homesick because I didn't know anyone here. So we want to know like how we can make friends in this land. And that really impacts our well-being as well. So check their website definitely. And another one is Insider Guides.
Insider Guides.
Yep. That's also another great publication. They will tell you where to go, where to eat, and they have international student stories as well.
Yep.
Meanwhile, I think City of Adelaide Council website, they have a lot of very useful things for you to know about the city and things you can do. I really got to know actually there are so many good resources in this city, but if you don't search, you may not know. So we really need to keep our eyes open and to be proactive, and then you can enjoy the city, your experience much more. I've been living here for 6 years, and I still really enjoy living here. And I want to thank you all the people who helped me through, and they're really nice.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Fantastic. But I think for people traveling anywhere, I would totally agree. Be proactive, seek out that advice. Well, thank you very much, Qian, for coming on the program.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
That was great. A lot of insights there, and I hope you guys have enjoyed listening to this and listening to Qian's journey and all this discussion about the different cultures and everything. And please, if you are interested in learning more about this, check out the resources that we've talked about. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys next time. You have a great week. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you are appreciating this podcast, remember to check out our Patreon page, where you can contribute to the continued production of our episodes made with love, and you can unlock bonus content too. Search Redlily Radio on Patreon to check it out.